Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Twin Speaks, our Twin Peaks Watch Party podcast. This is episode number 10. Today we're looking at season 2, episode 10, Dispute Between Brothers, and season 2, episode 11, Masked Ball. Here we go.
I wouldn't really consider this a spoiler, but for yourself, Scotty, I can just give you a heads up. As we were discussing last week, where we've kind of we're a little over numerically halfway through the episode count of the original run, and obviously with the events of the story, it's kind of put us very clearly at a break at the end of the first chapter, so to speak. Um, the second season does get a lot of criticism from certain fans because they feel that essentially not what we've just seen, but what is about to come up. Um, if you were to, and the way I like to think about it, if we take the whole run of 30 episodes and we kind of take the third quarter that we're going into now, it might be the weakest of the series going forward. It's not bad. You can give your opinions on it, but and we can discuss later on why this might have happened with the writing and such. But now it's nicely not. I won't say nicely with a bow. It's wrapped up Leland and Laura's story, if not Bob and Laura's story. It's wrapped that up. So it kind of you get the sense that it doesn't know exactly what it's trying to do. It's just kind of meanders for a few episodes. We do finish very strong though. I will tell you that. So it kind of redeems itself. But if you ever hear any fans being like, "Oh, season 2 of Twin Peaks,"
That
this is
that's
what
not
they're
real
referring to is
Twin
what's coming up.
Peaks. That's
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, no, this is what it is. But I, although we were talking about how Lynch and Frost were kind of like forced by the studio to do the Leland reveal. Looking back at what we've seen, you feel it was perfectly pitched and done.
yes.
And I don't. And in the
Maybe
numerous times I've watched it, I don't have any problems with it.
maybe um in the context of the pacing of the rest of the story so far. Maybe it
Mm,
felt a little bit rushed. And I know
yeah.
for a fact that was one of my biggest issues with Game of Thrones. You know, most
Mm,
people look at the final season of Game of Thrones as just complete and utter trash. And I'm going, yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. I just felt like you had seasons 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, whatever it was, of Game of Thrones, and the pacing was the same throughout all of those seasons. And then it
yeah.
came to the last season, and they're like,
It's a massive rush. Yeah.
yeah, and to get to this end thing, which if it had followed the normal pacing of the rest of the series, that would have been a minimum of 10 episodes instead of 7, I think it was, or
Yeah.
something, and probably into 2 seasons. So you would have
Mm,
seen that, and then the final season for the resolution. But that's not the way they chose to do that. Okay, well, great. That's a criticism, and I could accept that. I don't think it's trash though. I saw
mm,
continuity errors. I saw
yeah.
other certain things where it just didn't feel right or didn't quite jive right with everything that had come
Yeah.
before it. But it wasn't trash, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So I look at something like this and I go, okay, Leland. I didn't necessarily expect Leland to die at that
Mm,
point. I was hoping, I guess, that we were going to see a little bit of the aftermath of.
yeah.
I saw
His
Bob leaving.
revelations.
That
Yeah.
was almost a given, but I would have liked to see, I think, a little bit more, like maybe another episode or two at least, of, if not actually the rest of the series, of Leland dealing with the aftermath of what Bob did to him.
Mm.
Especially if that maybe led to like Leland becoming a part of the Bookhouse Boys, or something like that, to
Mm. Yeah,
get
that would have been cool.
you know but okay, this is the way that they decided to go. That's fine, I can deal with that. It just felt like there was maybe a little bit more to be told, and maybe that's where the studio kind of caused problems for David Lynch was
Mm,
he had this grand scenario and they were pushing we got to do this, we got to do this because the fans aren't going to like it, or the advertisers aren't going to like it, or whatever, and he's like, fine, shut the
mm,
fuck up, here you go,
yeah,
you know. And it was maybe slightly substandard for everything that he had done previously, so I could
yeah.
definitely see that criticism. But all in all, I'm satisfied. I look at the
Mm,
resolution to that first part of the storyline and I say, okay, that's not a half bad ending. I can deal
yeah.
with that. That, it was a mostly satisfying resolution to the end of that
Mm.
storyline, and now we're moving on to the second part of that. So, okay, but it's not trash by any means, and anybody that's
No, no.
poo-pooing it at this point just has their head up their ass.
Yeah, people are just. There's nothing wrong with being opinionated, but you and I can take a more broader perspective of things. Some people get far too caught up, especially if it's something they feel strongly about. But yeah, you see for yourself. It does. It continues the story. Obviously, I think we take a bit of a more slower approach, and it's just almost like, oh, well, that happened, therefore now life in Twin Peaks continues, so let's just see what everybody else is up to for a little bit before the main mystery picks up again and continues resolving, leading to some conclusion. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I've rabbited on there, but yeah, let's get into it, dude. But yeah, there we go. Excellent. That was episode not sorry, 9, 10.
10.
Sorry, 10. Dispute between brothers. Um yeah, take us away.
Um,
Where do you want to start?
so I definitely saw in this kind of like a picking up the pieces episode,
Mm,
where they're kind of like dealing with the aftermath of what just happened in episode 9. Um, it almost actually came as a shock to me then that at the end of the episode it seems like Major Briggs is being abducted
mm,
by
maybe.
aliens, entities, uh, you know, ethereal light in the forest, whatever that is.
Mm.
Um,
Well, he has mentioned communications from outer space before.
yes, yes, and I mean, that seems to be like an integral part of Major Briggs's part in the storyline is
Mm,
he brings to the table this information that they received a message from space that directly relates to Agent Cooper, and
yeah.
that there is some kind, seemingly, of entity or life form or something like that that is not only communicating in that method, directly or indirectly, but now seems to be responsible for abducting him, whatever
Mm,
whatever that particular entity is, be it something that we've conceived of before with the supernatural elements of this, or something completely different. But I think it would lend itself, yeah, to pretty much what we've discussed previously, that there's some kind of alien presence at the very least, or here's my problem with this. Um, and I only present this as kind of like a part of the bigger conundrum of you're trying to unravel the mystery of what is behind Twin Peaks and all of the
yeah.
happenings. So you've got things like the hospital food being bad. You've got the woman's grandson magician that is just weird as all fuck. You've got the telepathy, or people seeing the same thing even though there's no conversation, no, natural connection there,
Mm.
stuff like that. And then of course the appearance of the short man, the tall man, the um, the apparent embodiment of the tall man in the waiter butler guy. You've got the apparent appearance of Bob and Mike, these entities that are possessing these other men's souls, or bodies at least, and taking over their mind and their actions. Does that necessarily jive with the physicality of what we apparently just saw, which was Briggs and Cooper in the woods, camping, fishing, whatever they're doing, and Major Briggs being abducted? See, that would lend
Mm.
itself more towards a typical alien abduction story. You've got an
Right.
alien presence, a ship, physical alien beings that are doing this and that, maybe experimenting on people, whatever the case may be. And they have now actually physically abducted Major Briggs. That
Mm.
doesn't necessarily lend itself to maybe a storyline where you had, say, a group of non corporeal
Mm.
entities that are randomly inhabiting human hosts and
Mm.
and doing something that that person otherwise wouldn't do. um so I see a slight conflict there in the
Mm.
potential direction of the storyline, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't necessarily be something that you expect. Like, maybe you would more expect uh Major Briggs being taken over by one of these entities, or Leo
Mm.
being taken over by one of these entities, or even Sarah
Mm.
potentially being taken over by one of these entities. Something where it's kind of like building upon what was has already
Yeah.
occurred and what you've
Rather
made.
rather than throwing another almost like
Right.
random
and I
unknown.
and I can still see resolution to that if that's the direction they're going.
Mm.
Okay, so it is aliens on an actual physical ship, and they've abducted Major Briggs for whatever reason, and now that all ties in. It's all part and parcel because
Mm.
the what maybe it's entities possessing alien hosts, and they need new
Mm.
hosts, so they're trying to make it humans, or something
Mm.
along that line. There's multiple ways to do that. It just seems like maybe that's a wrinkle in the storyline that didn't necessarily need to be there. That's all.
Mm. In- Indeed, and time will tell. Uh,
Right.
good cliffhanger that I'd forgotten about though. So yeah, we'll have to
Yeah, I didn't honestly. I
see.
didn't expect that with this.
No.
If this was more of a typical picking up the pieces episode, when you see these kinds of episodes in play in other series, it's like, okay, so we're all dealing with the aftermath of what happened last episode, and rather than immediately picking up the action again with something new, you would kind of like tie up your loose ends and have some kind of satisfactory resolution at
Mm.
the end that is not nearly as dramatic as last episode, and then next episode we're going to maybe begin something new. So he
Mm.
willfully chose to make that a part of this particular episode. That now, I mean, yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Because they're even talking about it in several points in this episode, that now the second chapter of this is, we're now pursuing this evil that we have all
Mm.
identified, the Bookhouse Boys essentially,
Yeah.
and fighting against this evil. We just need to better define that, and then figure out how to attack it.
Mm.
And so there were points that they were referencing that in this, and I just didn't expect him to kind of ramp up that portion of the storyline this soon,
Yeah. Indeed.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, at least they're not hanging around.
No.
But we've obviously someone who may have had maybe some insight into things from a different perspective. Major Briggs has now, for the time being, been removed from the conversation. Let's hope he's okay. Because he's a good guy. I like Major Briggs, but we'll have to wait and see. Um, yeah. Obviously that was a cliffhanger there, and that's sort of leading us into something else. But yeah, what else, Scotty? What do you want to look at next? Joe Urchins, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, hello, urchins. I On that note, it felt very X Files in that moment.
Didn't it?
Um, that definitely was a scene that's been played over many times in X Files with the
Mm,
alien abduction and what that looks like or what that represents or
yeah.
how people that are involved in the situation feel about it. Agent Cooper, who he he's very I think in a lot of ways is very much like Agent Mulder, who
Mm,
he wants to believe in these sort of things. He's got the presence of mind to say there's something more here than meets the eye,
yeah.
like with the Tibetan monks and with ESP and these other things, dreams and all these things that he believes in. But he really does need to have the evidence to fully commit to that line of thought. He just wants to believe. So not only does that make him a lot like Agent Mulder, but the same kind of scenario can play out there. And
Mm,
I think Cooper in his processes is much more open to the sort of thing that could be real if he sees the evidence. If he doesn't
mm,
see the evidence, he'll shut it down just as fast himself
yeah.
and go, what are we doing here? Let's move on to something
Mm,
more important.
yeah.
Um,
Totally.
but yeah, the definite X Files feel to that last scene where they were
Mm,
apparently ramping up for this new thing that's becoming intertwined in the storyline as part of this second chapter, and
mm,
the 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 emphasis needs to be placed now on Cooper investigating from his end of things whether he has his gun badge or not,
mm,
and uh, doing what he's done best throughout the entire series, which is to pull it all together to bring resolution to the mystery.
yeah.
And it just seems like you could take away his gun and his badge, you're not going to stop him from doing what he's doing.
No,
No,
indeed.
he's gonna do what he does best under any circumstances.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
So on that note, Wyndham Earl, we got the
Mm,
little bit more information about this, about what happened. His former partner that they had, where they were trying to protect a witness, essentially in like the witness protection program or something,
mm,
and Cooper got involved with this witness, and because of his involvement, he didn't see what he needed to see to protect her from the person trying to kill her, and she
yeah.
died in his arms, no less,
Mm,
because he was severely injured because he wasn't ready for that moment. So his
yeah.
emotions did get the better of him, and that's why he's so resolutely
Mm,
against seemingly any relationship with Audrey. But the more important part of that I gathered was that Cooper said Earl went crazy.
mm, yeah.
And I want to, I mean, like, what I'm yearning for in this moment is far more detail about Wyndham Earl, why, not only, his backstory and his connection to all of this, but why he went crazy. Just witnessing that
Mm,
wouldn't necessarily turn an agent crazy. So
mm,
Cooper is well aware of Wyndham Earl's uh, mental state, and
yeah.
he saw the transition at that particular moment in their past where he went from a sane FBI agent the partner of Cooper, doing
Taught
their
him everything he
job,
knew. Yeah.
to now he is becoming an insane man.
Mm.
And I think Cooper saw that and accepted it for what it was as the reality of the situation, but I don't think
Mm.
Cooper really knows why it happened. And
Mm.
therefore the audience doesn't really know why it happened. So that's what I'm yearning for in this moment, is the background detail on why Earl went crazy
Mm.
and now potentially poses this threat to Cooper, as we
Indeed.
established in the previous episode, that now,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Wyndham Earl has sent him a message saying, you know, a chess move and this and that, and now this becomes another thing that Cooper has to deal with that may or may not be connected to everything that's going on in Twin Peaks.
Mm.
So I'll be severely interested in finding out more
Yeah.
details to that part of it.
Yeah. Let's as we're talking about Coop, let's tie in the part about his suspension. He's had to turn in his gun and his badge. Um. What do you think about any of that?
Um,
It's internal affairs. Just got to be in their bonnet, or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, kind of interesting timing.
Mm.
What is this? The very next day? Because it's
I mean, after those actions, it's a few days. It's not
right.
long.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that potentially is real. Uh, I'm going to assume at this point that the Canadian Mountie is a bad guy
Yeah. Yeah. Mountie
because
King.
yeah,
Yeah. He's either he claims to be that they've had an undercover sting operation they were building up on Jean Renault. Then a few scenes later, of course, we see him working undercover with Jean Renault, but to such a degree you're like, hang on, which which side is he actually playing here?
right.
Because you know, he's very convincing in his undercover role.
Yeah. So the fact that King, is that his name? Mountie King?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
he called him. Yeah.
So Mountie King, the fact that he's appearing with this internal investigations FBI officer,
Mm,
he clearly has reached out to the FBI
mm,
because I mean the FBI got, I'm assuming the report from Cooper as to all of the dealings going on there, the rescue and everything, and probably a report
mm,
from Albert and, you know, whatever else was involved. It seems like they didn't necessarily institute this in or instigate this investigation
mm.
into improper actions on the part of Cooper until Mountie King went to them and said, "We've got a problem
Right,
here." He
because
interfered. So this seems to be at the behest of Mountie King. So he comes
right,
in there
because
with his stupid mustache and looks all, you know,
hey, one of your agents is
yeah,
interfering in our business.
you're
Yeah, yeah.
fucking our shit
Because
up, you know.
because for all of Coop's integrity, obviously he specifically said when they were doing all the stuff at One Eye Jacks, he's like, this is off the books. We, you know, so obviously, presumably, he didn't include that in his reports, and with his own sense of ethics and morals, he felt that was justified. So yeah, it kind of the internal affairs would not know anything about this if it wasn't for somebody else mention it to them. Yeah, of course.
So either way, you know, his presence there even further complicates things. And if we're going to assume that he's on the wrong side, that he went into, let's say he went into this trying to set up Renault with a drug deal so they could book him and
Mm,
and, and close the operation down, that he has essentially turned to the dark side and he's seeking to get
mm,
something personally out of that whole thing. So
yeah.
he is essentially doing Jean Renault's bidding in now going to take the cocaine and plant it in Cooper's car to try to frame him for that part of it, and he's essentially doing Renault's bidding and trying to
Mm,
get uh, Cooper, Renault's revenge on Cooper. Okay,
yeah.
what does he get out of it? And that severely compromises then his interaction with the FBI in causing the investigation of Cooper. Okay, so that's all a given. Now we turn to how is this all going to play out with Cooper being on the receiving end of all of this hostility from a
Mm,
Canadian Mountie who is actually corrupt and working with the guy that wants Cooper to pay for the death of his brother, and
mm,
which Jacques Renault was no prize, so I don't know what the hell he's on about. But and all of this, and now I can even see Ben Horn coming back into play now that he's out of prison, and
mm,
still the owner essentially of One Eyed Jacks, and they're going to have their own private little war, him and
yeah.
Jean Renault. But this is just an added twist and added complication for Cooper that he has to fight through now, and the FBI isn't any the wiser. They're not
Mm,
going to necessarily come to the truth of the matter until Cooper himself figures it all out and presents the evidence and
right.
reclaims his good name.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Definitely.
so it seems like
I
now
have.
we've actually got 3 or 4 different things that are coming at Cooper all at the same time
Mm, yeah.
that he
Yeah.
has to
He's always
deal
got his
with.
plate full.
Yeah.
um. But yeah, I have faith that he will succeed in his endeavors one way or another. Um.
No doubt.
Uh. What next? I think that's tied up Cooper for the time being.
Yeah, just some random things. Jacoby being back.
Mm.
He's still a terrible therapist. Like trying to get Nadine enrolled in high school, and I just I okay,
it's
whatever. You know,
it's it's a interesting storyline. It's a
yeah,
bit strange.
Nadine apparently being, my superhero girlfriend and throwing guys
Mm.
around like they're rag dolls. And Ed, I mean, Ed he's got a severe dilemma here,
Indeed.
and it just keeps on, like, not necessarily compounding, but it's certainly not getting any better. He doesn't know what to do about Nadine. Apparently, Jacoby is presenting this as a solution for either attempting to get Nadine to remember she's an adult or at least mitigating the damage that could be done. But
Mm.
there's no realistic addressing of the fact that Nadine apparently has superpowers, or this
No.
this this super strength. Nobody, including Ed, seems to be understanding the full implications of that
Mm.
and putting them in their actions on how to address this.
Right.
It also seems to me that this would be of relevant interest to Cooper, or at the very least Truman.
Mm.
So Ed, being a bookhouse boy, why isn't he giving any of these concerns and information to Truman and saying, "Hey, we've got a potential problem over here.
Yeah.
This is not normal."
It's almost like he's taking it too far in stride, as if he's like, well,
Yeah,
she's having a mental episode. Um, the fact that she's somehow acquired super strength from this, that's not really worthy of mentioning to anybody. That's just a weird side effect. I shouldn't think about that too much.
right.
It'll be gone when she gets better. And it's like, hang on a minute, wouldn't you think to this miraculous, mysterious
Or
occurrence. You'd think you'd mention it to a few people.
or how about the doctor? Um,
Mm.
who's apparently trying to shoot up Sarah here with some kind of a sedative or something. That's a little bit oddball to me as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. You go and
That,
speak to Doc Hayward. Be
why
like,
yeah, why isn't the doctor who first recognized that there were unbelievable amounts of adrenaline in her oh,
mm,
you know what happens when you have too much adrenaline in your system? You get renal failure.
yeah.
Okay? So why hasn't the
Why is he not
doctor
monitoring us? Yeah.
in the past 6 episodes tried to address and stop Nadine's renal failure?
Right. I don't know. I you'll have to see where the storyline goes and
I guess it's the
see
hospital food, isn't it?
what you make of it as it goes along. See how you feel about it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Um.
But
Yeah.
so far it's just raising more questions, and I think Ed is showing a severe lack of forethought in taking this
Absolutely.
position where he's just not really addressing the super strength part of it.
Quite. Even to the point where if we back up a couple of scenes, he's speaking to no, was he speaking? No, he's speaking to Donna. Not although he had a little moment with Norma, which Hank definitely got a sight of at the wake. But yeah, no, he says to Donna, everything's gonna get better. Are you sure, Ed? He seems to be he doesn't know what to do, so he's just gonna go with the flow,
Right.
and he's just gonna have faith that things are gonna work themselves out.
Right.
Which is in some circumstances, Ed, that might be okay, but I don't know. I don't know whether to admire his optimism or uh, you know, feel bad about his naivete.
Yeah, it's almost like he doesn't know how to deal with any of it, so he's just not dealing with it.
Basically, which
You
is
know,
that seems like a good idea.
yeah, I guess that's the best thing to go with at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So then just real quick points. This guy Dick needs to die, or at least be castrated or something.
Dick Tremaine.
Yeah.
I thought you really liked him, Sky.
No.
I thought he was your favourite character.
No. I don't
You
know
don't,
what
you don't
gave
like
you
him more than Bobby.
that impression, but that's completely and wholly a lie. So
what do you make of his? So he's approached Lucy, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Lucy. I've come to realise that actually the thing I should do is step up, and I feel I'm the father of your child, and I want to step into that role
no,
and be a good dad for your child.
no, no.
Is he just full of shit?
He's worse than Legion Cage. He's just complete and utter trash. The I mean, you could even see when Andy goes to shake his hand, the smarmy smile on his face and the hesitation, and he's like,
the briefest of handshakes. He's like,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, and I mean, okay, so Andy's now like attempting to play the game. And because he's got that little aside with Hawk, and he's like, Lucy's gonna respond to manliness and whatever he said, and I'm going, okay, is that you, Andy? Or maybe you're trying to be that person, but if you're putting on this fake persona to try to win Lucy over, that's not the way. Lucy, on the other hand, is definitely falling for it. This little bit of a persona that Andy's putting on now. But even still, it's like, okay, even if and I gather that what they're trying to do, because they even said something about marriage. Okay, so I gather what they're trying to do is they're trying to say Lucy is a fair amount of a traditionalist. So whoever is the father of this baby, she's going to marry them. And, for better or worse, take that on as the responsibility of a traditional relationship and marriage, and you know, even
Mm,
if it's fucking Dick Tremaine, okay?
mm.
But at the same time, it's like, you know, why is Lucy putting up with Dick's shit? Why is
I know. She's too
he,
nice, maybe. I don't know.
and
She's
then
too
maybe that's
forgiving.
just, part of Lucy's uh, character and her uh, personality and the way she deals with things. She doesn't. I mean, she'll get frustrated, and she'll
Mm,
voice those frustrations, but she's not nearly getting mad enough at Dick,
mm.
in my opinion, that he is so blatantly fake,
Yeah.
and she's putting up with that fakeness
Mm.
when she should be just kicking his ass on the road. Okay, he's the father of the
Yeah.
baby, so what?
Even if he is the father, yeah,
You know,
send him on his way. You know. Yeah.
I mean, it can't be a good thing for Lucy in the long run to hear Dick say, I want to, this is going to be a good thing for me, fatherhood, and I'll step up to the challenge." And she should be going, "Yeah, but you're a terrible person, so you'll be a terrible father. So get
Yeah.
out of my life, you asshole." It's like,
Can't imagine Dick Tremaine being anybody's father.
right. Can't imagine him being anybody's son. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
What even is he?
I don't know, man. Just he's such a cartoon character of
Mm,
everything that is I mean, like, honestly, probably the only person that could be his father is like Donald Trump. It's he's got that whole egotistical, brash personality, and yeah, just like poor Lucy and sweet Lucy. What are you even doing with it? Sort your life out, Lucy. Seriously.
I have faith she will, one way or another. I have
Yes,
faith in
yes,
Lucy.
I do see that. Eventually,
Yeah.
she will make everything right, and
Yeah.
finally, definitively make the right decision on this. So,
Mm.
all right, and then the last thing was Josie coming back to
Mm.
Truman. It seems like Josie has um, may either got caught with her pants down or is made a decisive
Mm.
um, uh, made a decision to go against something that this triad has,
Yeah.
a hold over her. She was supposed to go back to Hong Kong, was it? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, with her quote unquote cousin, but something happened and she's still
Yeah.
in the
I
country, and it looks like they beat the shit out of her, and
yeah.
she has returned to Truman and asking for his help, and yeah. So I find that a little interesting. It seems like now Josie has hit a turning point and
Mm.
is potentially beginning her own redemption story. No longer is she going to allow the triad to rule her life, so to speak,
Yeah.
in her actions, and maybe she's starting to stand up to that. We don't have enough detail on this yet as to what
No.
happened, but it seems like that's the direction it's going.
Yeah. Clearly she didn't want to go along with what their
Right.
plans were, but obviously she felt obligated to more not necessarily from a sense of honor or actual obligation, just for the fear of her own safety. And well, uh, cousin Jonathan threatened her with murdering Truman. And obviously, I feel on some level she does genuinely have some feelings for him, even if they're not fully. It doesn't even if they don't fully reciprocate how he feels about her. But she cared enough to want to protect him. But
Right.
maybe we don't know what's happened since that scene. Seemingly, maybe she's just like, oh, no, enough's enough. Let's just, I'll take my chances. I've had enough of this. Even if my life or others is in jeopardy, I don't want anything to do with it. But we'll hopefully find out.
But
I've
that
got,
also leads to a question there of these people don't leave their associates alive if they dissent.
No, indeed.
So more than likely something else happened. Like she
Mm,
escaped. Like
mm,
they were gonna do something and she escaped, or that, and now they're gonna be coming after her because they don't
mm.
leave any loose ends.
Yeah, no, they
So
don't.
we'll have to see what happens there.
Um, yeah, I've got several smaller bits here. Going back to the beginning of the episode with Sarah. Obviously, of course, she's devastated now. She's lost not only a teenage daughter but a husband in fairly horrific circumstances, and
And
also
and and her niece.
yeah, and her niece, yeah, of course, uh, over the past couple of weeks. Um, you know, with not only just the horrific nature of the situation, but she's aware that there's some other weird evilness involved with the whole thing. Um, I hope she's going to be all right. Um, Curious that as Coop is comforting her before they head to the funeral. Um, yeah, he says, "Oh yeah, Bob is he's gone forever." Now, obviously, I don't think that's him saying that Bob is really gone forever. I think he's just kind of saying to Sarah, like, although you've been afflicted by this evil in your family's life, that evil is out of your life for now. It would seem unusual if Bob wanted to target Sarah in any way. That at least that's Cooper's belief. He's like, yeah, Bob's
Yeah,
still out there, but for you, you know, any more horror that he's going to cause is not going to be involving you anymore. At least, so I assume that's what he was going for with that statement. Um,
and I would tend to agree with that sentiment
yeah,
because it seems like if we're going to see a reappearance of Bob in any form, uh, it seems like Bob would only go one of two directions, and that is to try to take revenge on Cooper or to just inhabit a new body and get on with as much killing as he can muster and then maybe
yeah,
take off again.
yeah.
So, and in fact, I'm leaning towards the latter. So,
Mm,
I also would see the danger to Sarah at this point as practically nil.
yeah.
So,
We'll have to see, but either way, she's got wounds that mental scars that may never
I
heal.
mean,
But
that would almost lead me to believe that now Sarah, in potentially continuing to be a central character, is now going to maybe take on her own investigation and see if she
mm,
can track down Bob, or hears of a murder somewhere and thinks this is Bob taking action
yeah,
again,
yeah,
and then trying to take revenge on him herself. Like that is a
mm,
potential thing I
interesting.
could see Sarah doing at this point if she's going to
Yeah, yeah,
continue as a main character.
yeah. We shall see. Um, well, so yeah, Hank at the wake, cluelessly being like, "Hey, here you go, Sarah. Have a plate of food." It's like,
Right.
come on, bro. That's the last thing she wants right now. But I think that this says more about Hank than anything. The fact that he shows that he's this two-faced guy. The face that he shows to the world is, I'm such a nice guy. I'm so thoughtful. Now he doesn't know, what advantage is he going to get out of endearing himself? What he thinks is through his cluelessness, thinks he's endearing himself to Sarah Palmer and anyone who witnesses that. Probably nothing, but I think that's testament to his psyche, how he works, how he operates. He will put on this facade, be the nice guy, the helpful guy, the friendly guy to anyone, with the sole intention of that later on may it be an advantage to him. So obviously he's not thinking any specific advantage. That's just a little insight into how he operates.
Right.
But still, his cluelessness kind of worked against him. Or she's like, who's this guy? What's he even doing here? Um,
Yeah.
we briefly, if you have any, this probably you may not have any comments on The Milford brothers, Dwayne and Dougie. Dwayne is obviously the mayor. We'd seen him briefly in one of the very early episodes of the town hall meeting, and this is the first time we're seeing his younger brother Dougie. Anything you want to say about him in a minute? There's nothing
Bunch of
really to
trash.
comment of. Yeah, I mean, they could allude to the title of the episode, but yeah, maybe we'll see more of them as we go on.
Yeah.
Of course, the Bobby Shelley Leo situation continues. The more it goes on, the more I mean, maybe I don't have an overriding hatred of him as much as you do, but it's I feel bad for Shelley.
Yeah.
Bobby is just using her. He doesn't actually care about her, not really.
Well,
He may think he does, but
here's the thing. Bobby is not necessarily. I, I don't know how I want to characterize him, but he he does care for Shelley, but in the same kind of very shallow means that all people that look at the world as just an opportunity to be
mm,
exploited do.
yeah,
Though none of those people feel anything deeply. That none of them have any severe amount of compassion
mm,
because just like I mean he's not a severe narcissist, but he is a narcissist, and
yeah,
all narcissists, everything revolves around them. So
mm,
everything that Bobby does is about him. He I don't want to use necessarily the word love. He does care about Shelley, but Shelley is secondary to Bobby's concerns. So
yeah,
and that's why you see him anytime she says something about getting out of the house or she needs this or that, and Bobby will always sideline her because
mm,
she's not nearly as important as whatever he is doing at that
yeah,
moment. So he'll even sideline her with a phrase like, "Don't worry, babe, I've got a plan in action that'll take care of that."
yeah,
And you see that constantly from him. So he definitely is a narcissist, but it's a matter of so far I've not seen anything that indicates to me that Bobby is ever going to realize the negative impact he has on other people until maybe it's like blatantly shoved in his face. Like
mm,
I don't think this is going to happen, but suppose Shelley commits suicide or something
mm,
like that, and then Bobby is faced with that hard, cold, hard truth that he would have potentially caused that by his actions.
yeah,
Then it might take him to reflect that mirror on himself and internally look at what he is.
mm,
But I mean, this is why I said, from the beginning, and nothing has changed in that regard. No, Bobby isn't supposed to get a redemption story in this. He's supposed to be that narcissist through the whole thing, and Shelley
mm,
is just another one of his victims. And Shelley is a victim of Bobby just as much as she was of Leo by allowing herself to continue in that position, feeling she's trapped or deluding herself as to what the reality of it is,
yeah,
and therefore, that is what it is. He emotionally and spiritually abuses her, and she accepts that,
mm,
and that's what keeps their relationship continuing. So I don't see
yeah,
Bobby making any progress whatsoever towards becoming a good person, but he's
no,
not an evil person either. He's just kind of like a
yeah,
trash personality, and he doesn't know any better and hasn't been prompted with a severe enough scenario to examine himself. So he's kind of
yeah,
it's almost like he's in limbo between good and evil, and he's just exploiting what he can,
mm,
trying to make a better situation for himself, all the while never realizing that everything he's doing is just hurting him and her in by side effect in the long run. So
Yeah, indeed. And while we've mentioned Bobby, obviously it seems like his plan to try and blackmail Ben Horn is not going as well as he hoped it would.
no,
Assuming that Ben even got that tape, it's apparently he sent him a copy of the tape, and he's even paid any attention to it. Even if he feels that information is a real threat, it's almost like Ben sees it as, I would assume, oh well, it's Bobby Briggs. He's so small time and incompetent that he's not actually a threat, and he's not getting anything out of me.
I don't think Ben has gotten the tape yet.
Yeah, maybe he's not. Maybe he's literally not.
I could have sworn something happened where Ben never actually received the tape, so he doesn't even know who Bobby Briggs is.
Mm,
And Bobby's acting
yeah.
like he got the tape, and he.
No.
Okay, so that's great. Ben views him as small potatoes, and we're not gonna even bother with your bullshit blackmail. But I don't think Ben got the tape.
No, well, we've
because
certainly
he
not
was
seen
in
a scene of
jail.
him receiving the tape. Yeah,
He was in jail,
It-
and now he's out, and he was dealing with all of that with Catherine and everything.
yeah.
I'm not so certain that Ben is even aware of the
No,
tape at
no,
this point.
indeed. It could be knocking around the hotel somewhere that
Yeah,
Bobby's delivered, is had it sent, but no,
and we're only talking
he's
about
certainly not made
24
it.
hours here.
Right, yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how that progresses. Um, Another thing interesting, you mentioned this last week about the potential of Catherine's storyline,
Yeah.
and then she may become some kind of ally or have some kind of relationship going forward with Harry. The very first next time we see her is in Harry's office. So yeah, good call there, Sky.
I'm a
Impressed.
genius.
Only scene we see her, but she seems to be having a genuine moment with Harry, explaining what happened to her after the situation. And she feels that she seems like she means what she's saying. She feels that there's some kind of, she uses the term guardian angel, some kind of spiritual force essentially saved her that night, and led her to safety. And obviously from that she devised her Tajimura plan to get back at Ben. But yeah, so we'll see how her character progresses as we go forward. Final thing I had was it's revealed, of course, that Norma's mother is actually the food critic MT Wentz, and gave the Double R Diner a not so great review. Obviously, Norma was upset about that, and it's like, well, I'm your daughter, and her mother's like, yes, but my integrity as in my profession.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any? I mean, on one hand, I feel that she's correct in that if you are actually this is your profession, you shouldn't be like giving special treatment to someone because they're your family member. But she seemed a bit cold and cruel with her whole attitude about it, which obviously Norma was not having any of.
I actually found a third avenue there, and that is, why are you reviewing your daughter's restaurant in the first place?
Yeah.
That seems to me to be, like you talk about judges that are somehow connected to a case, they recuse themselves
Yeah,
from
of course.
hearing, something that's connected to something that they are personally, because there's a conflict of interest there.
Right.
You want to talk
exactly.
about professionalism in your industry as a food critic, which that is the perfect job for the mom who criticizes everything except herself. And so she's the big time food critic that it probably isn't worth it. And nobody listens to critics anyway. So
Right.
of course she is the food critic in retrospect. Of course she came there and she judged her daughter harshly. Nobody in Twin Peaks has a problem with the Double R. Nobody.
No.
It is almost the double R is almost the town hall. The
Yeah.
double R is the comfort place. Everybody goes
Mm.
there to get a home cooked meal. Nobody has a foul word to say about the double R except for Norma's mom. Well,
Yes, of course.
you have criticized harshly and negatively your daughter your entire life, and now you're doing so professionally. It seems to
Yeah,
me
yeah,
like there's a
right.
little bit of a conflict of interest there. So I'm sorry, I don't feel that the mom, whatever her name is, she's not even worthy of me remember her name.
No,
She
I've forgotten as well.
she can take her professional critic opinion and shove it. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, I mean, more important to me. I mean, okay, so I get it. Norma, is dealing with all of this, and effectively, and I've done this myself many times. You come to the realization that the person in front of you is no longer redeemable
Mm.
because you cannot see any path forward for them to become a person that you are able to realistically interact with,
Yeah.
because they absolutely refuse to compromise in any fashion with you and repair the relationship that they damaged. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look at that and you're like, okay, I don't see any path forward. I'm just going to cut my losses and remove you from my
Mm.
life. And I've had to do this several times with other people myself. So I
Yeah.
sympathize with Norma, and I felt
Mm.
what she feels in that moment, and it's a very devastating thing to
Mm.
realize that there is no resolution with this person,
Yeah.
especially a person that you would hope and hope and hope and hope that you could find resolution with, like your mom,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah, yeah.
just cannot find it anywhere. So, in order
Mm.
to stop the person from harming her any further, causing and inflicting more damage on the relationship, and just consistently hurting you, you stop that from happening and saying, I'm sorry, I can't have you in my life anymore. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you brought this on yourself, but bye. We're done.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I get it from Norma's perspective, definitely. And it seems to me that you've already got the makings of a comeuppance for Norma's mom
Mm.
in the case of Eddie, or
Mm.
whatever his name is, this guy that she
Ernie.
married, who apparently
Yeah.
is now being uh, uh, convinced by Hank to embezzle some money
Yeah.
from her.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
you
only
know,
last episode he was like, no, no, I'm on the straight and narrow. And now he's like, oh,
it's
well,
like
okay, no, I'm not.
yeah, he's slowly being convinced. Okay, well,
Mm.
that smells to me like karma rearing its ugly
Mm.
head to Norma's mom for just being this constant critically negative bitch to Norma this
Yeah.
entire time. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you expect? And you
Mm.
can see it in the mom's face and
Mm.
her emotional reactions to what Norma is saying in that scene. She doesn't feel the least bit guilty about what
No.
she's done, and she's riding on that high horse of her supposed professional and ethical standards.
Mm.
Okay, great. You're not giving any consideration whatsoever to the fact that this is your daughter, and that if you were a true professional, you would have recused yourself from ever
Mm.
writing a piece about your daughter's restaurant, because you might be emotionally compromised and hand it off to one of your other critics.
Right. But no, she didn't.
No. And specifically for going in there to say, oh, it's not bad, but it's not great either. You're not going to find any interest here. Who the fuck are you? So you're a food critic? What? Honestly, I mean, Eh,
Yeah. Sort your life
I
out
have a
in the
real
sun.
tough time with the profession of a critic in the first place, because it seems
Right,
like
yeah, it's
critics
a
go
weird
out
one,
of their
isn't it?
way to find the negative things.
Yeah. Yeah, if you
So
go looking for the negative, you're gonna find it.
yeah,
And it's like, well, But
which is
yeah, we'll
also why
see.
personally I've never put much credence into the things the critics say, especially about movies
No,
or anything
exactly.
like
Decide
that.
for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's whose opinion you should be trusting. Um,
right.
but yeah, that's all I had for the episode. But yeah, got several bit of resolution things tied up, but more questions have been asked. Um, do you have anything else? Do you want to mention, Scoy?
No, that's just it. I'm just earnestly waiting to see what happens now with Briggs, Major Briggs,
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that
indeed.
he is returned safely and his son is abducted and taken to another planet.
Okay. All right, let me get this out. There we go, Scotty. A bit of you seemed a bit shocked there at the end. I guess you weren't expecting that. No, excellent.
In fact, nothing, you know, just like the twists and turns that David Lynch puts into everything. Last commentary, I'm like, I'm a genius. I foresaw this thing, and nope, no, I didn't foresee any of that shit.
I mean, if you get through the whole thing and you're never surprised, I don't think anyone's ever done
I
that.
mean,
But
honestly, that is the mark of David Lynch being a great
mm,
storyteller. Not
yeah,
only
yeah,
does he
agreed.
constantly keep you guessing about a character's motives or what you think you know about them, but then everything that you thought you know is turned on its head and it's something
Yeah,
completely different. So I
absolutely.
never I thought that was a done and done deal. Andrew Packard is dead,
Mm,
and that was the whole premise of everything that came afterwards with
yeah,
Catherine
yeah,
and Pete and Josie and um, what's his name, Thomas Eckhart, that
yeah.
apparently was Josie's uh, master, for lack of a better
Mm,
term. Um, so I thought that was like a fact, a done deal
yeah.
premise moving forward. And nope, sorry about that.
No, just to let you know,
Lynch just pulls
he's
the rug out from under the feet and goes, "Fuck you."
yeah, yeah. So either yeah, either I don't know. I guess his death was staged.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it seems at this juncture that it was a plan of his and Catherine's all
Right.
along. Uh, so where he's been in the interim, I assume he's not been in town. I assume he has just
Right.
recently turned up, with all of based on the previous proceedings with everything that's going on with Josie and everything that's happened with the mill and such. That he's like, nah, now is the time for me to head back, and we'll wrap up our master plan. Um, I guess, but
Well, I mean, speaking speaking broadly of that, so we've had a lot happen with the mill.
mm,
We've had supposedly Josie going in there at the behest of Thomas Eckerd and trying to essentially steal the land and the mill from Catherine, who by rights owns it because it passed to her from Andrew.
mm,
Um, to both parties supposedly being involved in an arson attempt to extract the insurance money out of it,
yeah,
to the arson attempt actually happening and Catherine being on the losing end of that, to turning that around and flipping the whole thing on Ben Horn and coming out the winner in the scenario. not only
Yeah.
now holding all the rights to the deeds and the lands and all that, but removing Josie from the picture at the same time. Now, it doesn't necessarily seem like there's any real connection between Andrew and Catherine on one side and Eckhart and Josie on the other
Mm.
side. It seems like those were two opposing forces, but at the same time, it's like Catherine, who was seemingly now on the good side, is back on the bad side because of this entire scheme with Andrew, who's been alive the entire time.
Mm.
And who are they screwing over? And yet again, we're caught in the middle of this tangled web of opposing evil forces that
Yeah.
are all trying to claw their way up and come out on top. Um, so I guess maybe the lesson from all of this is don't assume anything.
Yeah. Certainly don't do that. No. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to see from the next episode
But I mean,
what their overall plan is. Yeah.
let's just dwell for a moment though on Josie, who seemingly had this master slave relationship essentially with Eckhart,
Mm.
where she was bought out of poverty to essentially be his daughter, and he
Mm.
raised her and taught her business and how
Mm.
to essentially operate his criminal organization
Yeah.
in this locale. So she goes and she does this. She marries Andrew Packard, which now seeing him, I mean, I figured, okay, so Catherine has got to be in her early 50s or so, late
Mm.
40s at the very least. Andrew looks like he's in his late 50s.
Yeah.
And Josie is in her early 30s maybe. So we're seeing just like, and maybe that's part of that reflection
Mm.
is with the marriage of this, what's his face, Yahoo, to the young girl. um Andrew was definitely had several years on Josie. So what
Mm.
prompted that marriage? Why did they get in there in the first place? I mean, if that was at the behest of Eckhart, who was trying to weasel his way into this
Yeah.
land, and thought the best way to do that was to use Josie's femininity against Andrew Packard,
Mm.
okay, that makes a little bit of sense. What is the deal with Packard though?
Yeah.
Okay, and what was his angle on all of this? Especially now with the revelation that he's been alive this whole time. What
Mm.
is he after with Josie?
Yeah.
What does he get from that? Unless he's got some mastermind plan, he saw through the whole thing, and he's got this mastermind plan to take on Thomas Eckhart. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So
See.
too many questions to really dive into anything else there. I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah. We just need to see more of the situation,
Right.
don't we?
Right. But no, I did not foresee that at all. And in fact, you know, as we discuss these things, I have, uh, positive and negative reactions often right off the bat. I
Mm.
don't know how to feel about this revelation that Andrew Packard is still alive. I'm
Yeah.
not sure whether that plays positively or negatively for the overall storyline,
Yeah.
especially the revelation at this point, this deep in, essentially more than halfway now, what what that's supposed to mean to the overall storyline.
Mm.
So I'll reserve comments on that. I want to see maybe, like over the course of the next couple of episodes how that kind of plays out before I make a determination on that.
Yeah. Of course.
More importantly though, Josie being an essential slave to Eckhart, getting away from him, even though now her life and Truman's life are at risk because of that. and immediately now going back into servitude to Catherine.
Mm.
Like, I mean, okay, so Catherine's got this whole secret plot with Andrew Packard. Why do you have to go the extra step to actually enslave this person who just got out of slave? I mean, yeah, okay, so she tried to double cross you, but only because she really had no choice. And your immediate response is, okay, let's punish you some more. Now you're my
Mm.
slave. You
Yeah.
know, that really shows the true intent of Catherine,
Mm.
that
Indeed.
is buried under just as much deep bullshit as some of the other two-faced characters.
Mm.
You know, we got a glimmer of Catherine being a victim of circumstances here, and no, apparently she is
Mm.
the orchestrator of the circumstances,
Mm.
and now is more evil than ever.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah. It's
I'm
only one
looking at,
episode ago we saw the best of her.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at it
Now we see
from
the worst of.
I'm looking at it from Josie's perspective, and I'm going, God damn, it's like, from out of the frying pan into the fire. Josie's situation has not improved,
No.
and now she is at the mercy of Catherine that is non-existent, and Catherine appears to be holding all the cards. So it's like, what what is Josie going to do about this whole situation? Is she going to be able to extricate herself from this now other form of modern slavery,
Mm.
and what that means for her? But I'm looking at it like, I got such a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when I hear Catherine
Mm.
start uttering those words, like, in all the directions that the storyline could go, even with a version in which Andrew Packard is alive this whole time. Getting to that point where Josie's essentially putting herself at the mercy of Catherine,
Yeah.
and then Catherine actually saying those words, okay, well, you're now going to be my slave. You're going to be a servant. I take breakfast at 7 a.m. You're going to be in the servants' quarters, da da da. You know,
Mm.
it didn't have to be that way
No.
at all. But
No.
that's what Catherine is making it. And I don't. Maybe it's obvious that Josie didn't expect that,
Yeah.
or maybe she did, but that's just wrong on so many different levels for me.
Mm.
That you would have hoped for the best from Catherine, and no,
No.
she's not
Yeah.
fulfilling that at all.
Yeah. It's a problem. Because I'm not a. I have mixed feelings about Josie. In that one hand, on one hand, I feel bad for her because of her upbringing and what she had to go through, and what she actually had to do and submit to just to survive. But on the other hand, I don't like her deceptive nature, and how she's deceived Truman. But but she doesn't deserve the situation she's in currently. I do feel that.
Then again, I could also, with how convoluted David Lynch makes the storyline, I could also see an avenue in which Josie never actually stopped working for Eckhart, and she just made this big show to Truman, and then went to Catherine, and now she's infiltrating Catherine's operation, and Andrew Packard, they knew he was,
Yeah,
how
it's a double
how
cross of a double cross.
yeah,
Yeah. How far does it go? How many
how
layers are there?
the phrase "oh, what a tangled web we weave" means absolutely nothing next to this storyline.
Indeed.
So
Anyway.
now, I mean, on that note, it is incumbent upon David Lynch to bring resolution to a lot of different things now, which we already knew. There was all these various building mysteries, some of them completely seemingly independent of others, or the main plot, or something else that's going on. So I can see what you mean when you were talking about like some of the fans think this is like not necessarily the right direction for the storyline. I don't
Yeah.
mind at
No.
all. I'm still eager to see more and wanting to know where it's going on, but I'm going to place far more personal emphasis on David Lynch resolving what he is starting here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
expecting that and hoping for a satisfying resolution and um placing um what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily the responsibility, but I'm going to lay far more weight
Mm.
against him doing that as you would hope. And if
Yeah.
he doesn't, that would be more disappointing at this point. You want to make the storyline far more complicated and all that. I'm all for it. As
Mm.
long as your resolution at the end satisfyingly ties everything up.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you previously about the podcast The Black Tapes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So same scenario. Absolutely loved the podcast, and when it came to an extremely unsatisfying end, it's like, what the fuck are you even doing with your life?
Mm.
Creating this story that you don't satisfyingly end. And
Yeah.
it's not because you're a shit storyteller. The first two seasons there were
Yeah.
excellent.
Prove
The
otherwise.
so
Yeah.
far up until the end of the chapter 1 was excellent. It draws you in. It brings you, you're not a shit storyteller,
Mm.
but there's two parts to that, and I want to hope and believe that David Lynch has it in him to bring this to a satisfying resolution.
Mm.
But now that he's adding more layers in, it is
Mm.
becoming increasingly incumbent upon him to do
Yeah.
so, or otherwise risk the disappointment that comes with that. So, in other words, the stakes now, just with these past two episodes, are higher in my mind that Lynch satisfyingly brings it to a resolution or we riot, because it's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing with this storyline, making it that much more complicated if you do not intend to bring it to a satisfying resolution.
Indeed. We have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Have faith, Scotty. That's what I'm saying.
I have
Right.
faith
Yeah.
in nothing.
Oh, I
Do
know
you not
that, but
know anything of my personality?
no, indeed. Okay. What else? There's several other things from this episode. What next?
um I found it interesting that you had this little aside between Cooper and Truman and uh, Briggs's wife, and
Mm.
that he would talk about this entity in the woods constantly. It's
Mm.
classified. We can't talk about it, but he talked about it constantly.
Mm.
And that means that he has far, far more information about what this is than
Mm.
he has ever let on.
Indeed.
And maybe that's, part and parcel with him being a government, a major or general or whatever it is,
Yeah.
major, I think. And he's got the information because he's in that position of power to know the
Yeah.
information and keep it secure and confidential. But that also says to me that potentially murders could have been avoided or
Mm.
Bob could have been brought to heel if that
Mm.
information had been made more, not necessarily publicly, but relevant to, say, Cooper. Or,
Yeah. Indeed.
um, so clearly, not only do we need to recover Major Briggs, but we need to know what he knows.
Indeed. His wife Betty doesn't seem too concerned. As if she suggested that he's been acts before. I
Oh
could
yeah,
say,
he
isn't
he
that in the
he
woods,
yeah, he
but
gets abducted in the woods all the time. It's fine. He'll be back.
yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. Okay, okay, fair enough. Curiously, though, of course, what he mentioned was this concept, this idea of which he didn't really get into, but the name, the White Lodge, which he didn't get anything more from Major Briggs at the end of the previous episode, but asked Truman Hawk about it, and Hawk said, "Oh yeah, the White Lodge. Yeah, my that's like stories and legends from my culture. Um, it's supposed to be a place where the spirits reside, and there's also a place known as the Black Lodge, which is the shadow counterpart to the White Lodge. Um, says some interesting things about it. It's the place where you will face your shadow self. All spirits must pass through to on the road to perfection. They call the shadow self the dweller on the threshold. And if you enter the Black Lodge with imperfect courage, you will be utterly destroyed. Kind of ominous there. Um, so whatever this concept of the White Lodge is, and potentially also the Black Lodge, is somehow related to all of this, according to Major Briggs, at least.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have any comments on that.
Mm,
Aside from that, it seems to remind me of the same premise as Twilight,
mm,
because that was in Twilight they were exploring the dichotomy between the Native Americans that had existed in the Washington State area all that
mm,
time and the vampires that had essentially descended upon the place to
mm.
reside. And
Right. Okay.
then they came to a negotiation of terms and essentially a
Mm,
peace. It seems to me like in starting to investigate Hawk and what he represents, his the Native Americans in that area, um, that not only is there potential for the same kind of exploration of a spirituality that accompanies almost all Native American stories,
mm,
and what they believe about the spirits of this world, things like getting in touch with your spirit animal, getting in touch with and connecting with the the spirits of the world, the earth and the land and the animals and everything that comes with that, but also the greater um, story of good versus evil that exists within Native American
mm.
spirituality. And
Indeed.
if they're gonna go this route, okay, so that sets up a whole paradigm of what the storyline could have existed in the first place. That you talk about the
Mm,
Bookhouse Boys and they've been fighting an evil that resides in the woods for a long time. Okay, well, where did that come from? Probably from the same thing that the Native Americans have been talking about this whole time.
right.
And they are the purveyors of the good side that keeps the evil side at bay. You know,
Mm,
and in present days that has taken the form of the Bookhouse Boys.
yeah.
Um, so I think it really does fit with the theme. This concept that Cooper is now going to explore this aspect of the spirituality through the Native American folklore and their take on that.
Mm,
Even as far as what they're probably going to explore in the way of him facing his shadow self in the Black
mm,
Lodge in order to get to the White Lodge and get some real
mm.
answers to the entire mystery. And then of course how this interrelates with these entities that are possessing
Yeah.
bodies. And either committing murders or attempting to stop the murders, or whatever else is
Yeah.
going on with them. So there's a lot of different avenues that could go.
Mm, indeed.
But at least it seems like we're roughly all on the same page now.
Yes.
That this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
all the same thing that we're talking about, and we're just slowly, slowly making progress towards understanding what it is that we're facing here.
Indeed. Indeed. Very. Looking forward to some of those questions. The answers to those being revealed to you. What else we got?
Um, let's see.
Yeah,
So
I've
I,
just got
I
a few
think
bits and
everything
pieces
else
left. Actually, I
was
think we've got the main things.
Yeah, I think everything else was kind of like incidental part of the B storylines. We've got Hank visiting Ben to tell him he's essentially out.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it seems to be Jean Renault
Mm,
who has the upper hand in a lot of this stuff, and Ben is just kind of like shit out of luck for the time being until he figures his
yeah.
shit out or pulls another card out of his sleeve and you know
Yeah.
is able to do something
Indeed.
else. But so now I think we have four clear enemies, these evil uh, branches that are fighting against each other. We've got Ben Horn, we've got Jean Renault, we've got Catherine and Andrew Packard, and then we've got Thomas Eckhart and Josie.
Yeah.
And we really need to see if we're going to see any type of progress in that aspect of the storyline. We need to see who is going to be cut out at this point, who's
Right.
going to be completely shut down. That seemingly right now is Ben Horn, but I don't think he's out for the count.
You think he'll bounce back? Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm going to be looking for a process of elimination to take 4 down to 3.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So we've got that. We've got Wyndham Earl, who actually sent Cooper a tape. We get to hear Wyndham Earl's voice. And of course, all of it's in the paradigm of chess moves and predictability versus unpredictability.
Yeah.
Who is going to be able, between Wyndham Earl and Cooper, to make the best moves in what is to follow here. And but the most important part of that, it being that Earl is resolutely saying to Cooper, the king must die.
Yeah.
So one of us is going to succeed here. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be me? So we still have yet to find out exactly why Wyndham Earl has essentially identified Cooper as an enemy and is coming at him. And we haven't even really seen, aside from this chess analogy, what exactly Earl is doing.
What does he actually want?
Yeah, what does he want?
Aside from Cooper's attention,
to actually violate Cooper. And I don't think even Cooper knows this at that point.
No.
He doesn't understand why Earl is doing anything like this in the first place. He just knows that he's crazy.
Yeah.
And we like I said last time, we have yet to establish why he went crazy in the first place.
Indeed. We do know at least that, like you say, from his chess analogies, that whatever his goal is, Cooper is the focus. He's fully committed to the bitter end, whatever the resolution may be. He's willing to risk it all on this endeavor. It may end essentially with either him or Cooper literally dying at the end of it. And also with his wording to Cooper as well. He feels that he is the while he recognizes and acknowledges Cooper's, if we continue the analogy, skillful chess play, he feels he is the superior player, and that at the end he will, he will succeed. He will defeat Cooper in
Most
this
villains
endeavor.
do.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Because they wouldn't be taking it on if they didn't think they were not confident in in their
I will
abilities.
defeat you.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
So yeah,
But yeah,
we have
interested to see
many
more from
more
him in the future.
details to fill in on the actual threat that Wyndham Earl is,
Indeed.
and why. So then we've also got Denise. This is apparently FBI agent Fox Mulder undercover as Dennis, whatever his name, who is undercover as Denise, and yeah, when I saw David Duchovny in the credits at the opening, and I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting, and it was even more so than you would expect.
Yes.
Do you know when this came out in relation to X-Files? I didn't look it up.
I believe this season is 91. So, and what X-Files started 93, 94?
Okay, so before X-Files was even conceived.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, boy, if it was on the same time, this would be a fantastic opportunity for an X-Files crossover.
Yeah, right. Indeed, indeed.
But I guess that just wasn't in the cards. But yeah. So David Duchovny in this capacity, absolutely excellent. Like you
doing a superb job as Denise Rodman.
I've come to expect a very specific style and performance of acting from David Duchovny over the years. Being a big fan of the X-Files, I've seen all of the X-Files several times, and he's got a very specific style.
Yeah.
This, and even in other things that David Duchovny has been in, this was something unexpected. Like, it was a performance from David Duchovny that I didn't necessarily see coming, and I thought it was very well done. An excellent, non-relevant, perhaps, plot twist to an otherwise excellent story, where you are randomly surprised by the form that this takes, and it adds in a nice little comedic element, but you look at the way David Duchovny played that role, and it's like that was masterfully done. Like, he didn't even try hiding his voice, but the inflection and the mannerisms that he took on for that so embodied a man who actually got in touch with his feminine side and embraced that, what he feels he is.
Yeah.
And definitely. He's not even hiding it. He's just like, I love talking about this.
How it is. Yeah.
This is reality.
Yeah.
So I'd also say at this point, you consider the time in which this came out. What'd you say, 91? So it's like,
I believe so, yeah.
20 years, honestly, 15 to 20 years before our American culture really started accepting that as not a societal joke.
Yeah, totally.
And David Lynch, with the help of David Duchovny, presented this character that, yes, presented a little bit of comedic value, but also clearly well-defined the way society is supposed to look at people like this. Not necessarily sneering or mocking or anything like that, but a genuine respect of, this is a person being who they are, and we should respect that.
Yeah.
especially embodied in Cooper, who
Of course.
didn't bat an eye. Maybe he had a little bit of trouble there,
Yeah.
with identifying Dennis as Denise. And at the same time, then the little tangent to that is Denise going, "It's okay,"
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not throwing a
Totally.
fit over, "Oh my God, you called me Dennis. I'm a
No. No.
woman." No, you know the way that Cooper, the
Mm,
good-hearted spiritual person that he is, not only accepted this entire scenario, maybe a little bit bemused by it, maybe a little bit,
mm,
okay, what are we doing next? But
yeah.
genuinely respecting this agent who has made this personal decision in their life to reflect outside who they felt they are on the inside,
Mm,
and then on the other side of that, David Duchovny's side of that, presenting a character who says, I'm in this scenario where I'm presenting my real self to the world, and yes, I'm going to be mocked, yes, I'm going to have people make fun of me, but I'm okay with that too.
mm.
And I'm in other words, the character of Denise deals with how other people react to him in exactly the way that you would hope somebody
Yeah.
dealing with that would react to that. You know,
Indeed.
and Cooper, it reflects the exact way that you would want people to react to that person.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
It was so
Or
beautifully and masterfully presented there, the way these two people are interacting, which is what you would hope and want from society in the way those two
yes.
people should react. So
Yeah.
so that was fabulous, especially the bar scene.
Yeah. Totally. I wonder if
Very well written
you
and
know,
very well
yeah,
presented.
that was done on purpose. Maybe there was maybe it was Lynch or maybe it was one of the other writers. Maybe some situation had come up in real life that made them think about that type of
Hmm.
thing, and then they were like, "Oh, why don't we include this in the storyline? Why not? There's no reason not to.
Right.
You know,
Because it's a
it
real
makes it interesting."
scenario that we
Yeah,
run into
exactly.
all the time.
Yes, of course. So it lends even more realism to the overall story. So yeah, I loved it. And as you said, David Duchovny done a perfect job. And look forward to seeing more of Denise
Yeah.
as we move along. Uh,
I mean,
it's nice.
honestly, I look at it in the same aspect as Albert. I
Mm,
don't identify nearly as much with Denise as I do with Albert, but it's that same kind of sideline character that comes out
mm,
and just nails the performance that you would be
yeah,
expecting from that person,
absolutely.
and adds such a great flavorful character to the mix
Yeah,
that it's a great addition to the overall storyline.
100%. And it seems that all Denise's quirkiness aside, Uh, she she does seem a very competent DEA agent.
Mhm.
Clearly sees through the bullshit and is like, okay, it's a setup. Coop's been set up. I have to still do my job and go through the motions to collect the evidence to do my side of things.
Right.
Um, but a different DEA agent could have just come in and been like, "Hey, you, Mister FBI man, you corrupt guy, I'm here to bust you." Denise is like, no, I'm here to do my job and get to the truth of the matter. And I already understand that Coop is not guilty of this. So I
Right,
just
and
have to,
clearly that places Denise in on the same side as Albert and
yeah,
Cooper and his
absolutely.
boss, and they're all, even the black guy that's part of internal investigations,
Mm,
that's sitting there at the table and being straight with Cooper instead of
yeah,
having to, or trying to nail him on this thing that
yeah,
he maybe isn't actually, instead of like you see oftentimes these district attorneys and these things, these people that are trying to just give a good performance to make
yeah,
themselves look good
of
historically.
course.
No, none of these people are like that. and that speaks
Mhm.
well. I mean, they presented that in the X-Files as well. That there
Yeah.
were, even though there was corrupt individuals within the FBI, there was this cadre of characters that
Mm.
had all of the best intentions in all of the right places, and that was presented as your good force for the storyline. I see the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing here, and it's a welcome addition to see these
Mm.
people represented as government agents that have the best intentions at heart to do exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. Um, pleased. Pleased you appreciate it. Uh, so I've only got anything else you've got on your list. I've got two little things to mention.
Um, James continues his downward spiral into insanity, now getting together with Evelyn Marsh and putting himself in a very precarious position in which he's going to fix her car.
Yeah. Is that what the kids are calling nowadays?
Yeah.
I need you to fix my car, young man. Um, I
Who,
don't. I
have
wonder
we
if he's
seen
being
this character,
naive.
Evelyn Marsh, before? I don't recall.
No, no, no. We just James was out on on his edgelord soul journey, trying to find himself. Because everything's my fault, Donna. It's all our fault because we love each other. That everything's
James,
gone wrong and everyone's died. So therefore, I'm just going to drive into the sunset on my own.
James the drama queen. You know,
Bless him. Um. So yeah, no, he's just randomly bumped into this Evelyn Marsh, who all we know about her is she's wealthy. Um. And she claims that her husband Jeffrey is away for business. He's a bit of a tension between the two of them. By the sounds of it, she's not too happy with the relationship, but um she's making the most of it. She's crashed his car. It better be repaired before he gets home, or he'll be unhappy. Hey, young man, come and fix this car for me. You can
oh, and
stay
you
in
can
this room.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
stay in my house, and we're just stopping short of saying, "Hey, come to my bedroom and fuck me, young man," you know.
Yeah, she literally said, I think she literally said, "Oh, yeah, how about room and board as payment and anything else you
Anything
feel is
else you
necessary."
need, yeah.
And
Whatever.
he's like, yeah, I think yeah, that's clearly what she's saying. Whether this is just on a whim or whether she's lonely or whatever the situation may be, uh, I think James is too dumb though to really read between the lines. I think he's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh no, no, no,
Now,
no. I think he knows exactly what's going on.
yeah.
But he's in a mindset right now where Donna doesn't really matter so much. Like he's somehow
Mm,
convinced himself that he's at fault, or that the world is so screwed up that none of it matters.
nothing
And
matters. Yeah.
yeah, so he's almost to the point of not caring if he hurts
Mm,
Donna.
yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't speak well of, how his character is dealing with things like, um on a, not only on a personality level but on an emotional and spiritual level. James is just
Mm,
like, it's almost literally nihilism,
mm,
where he's just kind
yeah.
of throwing caution to the wind. Okay, whatever. And the whole time he's got that look on his face like, oh, I guess we're doing this now,
Mm.
and just, you know like, he's extremely weak-minded right now.
Yeah.
He has no sense of morality guiding him, because that's how he's allowing it and wanting it to be.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he's kind of removing himself from the storyline. He's
Yeah.
just going off and doing his own thing and branching off, and it's going to be
It's-
hard for him to recover from this.
Yeah. So you think it's quite likely he's going to be staying in Evelyn's room rather than the room above the garage?
I could see at the last minute he's like, "No, this is wrong. I have to go back to Donna." But it's like,
He's at
you
least
know,
going to take it that far, if
why
not
did you
all the
place
way.
yourself in this position in the first place?
Yeah.
Sort your life out, mate. So
Yeah.
what are you even doing, man? I'm actually starting to get a little disgusted with James at this point because it's like you're turning into Bobby. What are you doing? You know,
Mm,
you had this thing with Donna and you completely screwed it up, and now you're just making everything worse because you
mm.
lack the presence of mind to just mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Let's see. Let's see if we can bring it around. Um,
Yeah. And then, of course, Nadine,
yeah.
who is about to become a pedophile. And,
I mean, yeah. I mean, technically,
oh, Jesus. And all because Jacoby
yes.
came back from vacation.
God damn it, Jacoby. What you always? But yeah, she's got a seemingly Nadine in her regressed schoolgirl mentality believes she's got a crush on Mike, uh, Donna's ex-boyfriend.
And Ed is
And
just too old for her now.
yeah, he has like an old man. Yeah, and clearly Donna's like, well, aren't you with Ed? And she's like, well, I suppose I am. But he's over there and Mike's over here, so no harm, no foul. It's
Yeah.
like, come on,
Ed
Nadine.
doesn't have nearly as nice buns as Mike does. And
Yeah, so
I hope Mike likes strong women. Let's
yeah,
just
well,
put
he
it that way.
better do because she's been invited by by the coach to try out for the wrestling
Yeah,
team now.
and at that point, I'm just like, okay, yeah, my suspension of disbelief is
Yeah,
pretty tight here. It's like,
if
you know, this gym coach or whatever
mm,
is looking at this, seeing this scrawny little 100-pound girl lifting 600 pounds on her leg weights, and he's just like, his automatic response is, "You need to be on my team."
yeah, it's
Really,
not like
nobody is
yeah,
questioning superhuman strength here. What
yeah.
the.
I think it's fair to say if it wasn't obvious before, but at this point, whether it was intended to or not, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process behind it was when they, not that Nadine being taken ill, but like waking up in this regressed state. Was it intended as comic relief at that point? Hard to say, but now by this point, they've clearly committed to the idea that Nadine's storyline, until she recovers, at least if she recovers, is absolutely for the comic relief aspect of the show.
and
I
and
guess I've
with
mixed
that
feelings about that, but
and with that, I'm gonna have to say it's the weakest part of the story at this point.
at this
It
point, yeah,
is it is clearly, well, whether no, let me put it this way: whether it is clearly supposed to be comic relief or not, they are moving forward with it as if it is canon,
mm,
which puts him in. Remember, I was talking about David Lynch, having more weight to bringing this to a satisfying resolution. This, the weakest part of the story, in my
mm,
opinion, he's going to have the hardest time bringing a satisfying resolution to, because
yeah,
my suspension of disbelief is being stretched so thin that everybody in the town is just accepting Nadine's status as reality
yeah,
instead of
mm,
reacting with concern or let's figure out what the hell is wrong with you,
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of just
indeed,
going with this as if everything's
yeah.
okay.
It's almost like presumably with again, I assume Jacoby is the one
Yeah,
reference point as like, oh, Doc, what should we do about this? Which I don't know
we
if he's the best option, but
we didn't
he
even
seems like he's like,
in
sorry,
in
go.
in the scene with the principal and
Mm,
Ed and Jacoby, we didn't even have, if I recall that correctly, a statement from Jacoby on this is the
no,
therapeutic method by which we're going to deal with this. It
yeah,
just, he was kind of inserted into the scene as if
mm,
that is the case.
suggest that,
Okay,
yeah,
so if that's the route you're going, I still don't see enough that suggests to me that people are concerned about her status and are doing
mm,
something to at least attempt to resolve that. It's all just kind of been reactionary. Oh,
yeah,
she's got this super strength. I guess that's just a thing we have to deal with now. Oh, she feels like she's 17. I guess we'll put her in school because that's the best way to deal with. Oh, she has super strength. Let's put her on the wrestling team because I guess that's the best way we're gonna deal with this.
Yeah.
It's getting to a point where I
Mm.
feel it's going to be very difficult for Lynch to satisfyingly resolve that scenario.
Yeah.
What
Maybe it won't.
exactly is
But
causing Nadine to do this in the first place, and how does
yeah.
that relate to the broader story, and how are you going to resolve that? In other words, getting either Nadine back to normal, or she realizes what is happening to her and accepts it and moves on, realizes that she's an adult, etc. Maybe becomes a superhero on the side of the good with the Bookhouse Boys or something. I don't care. How are you going to resolve this? Because so far I don't see anything presenting, just something that's making it more and more disbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed. Indeed. So
ah,
we shall see.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like I said, well, we shall discuss this more in length at the conclusion of the original run, but flawed masterpiece.
hmm
That's my descriptor of it to people who are not in the know. And maybe you're starting to see some of both aspects of that now, Scotty. But
well, and
yeah,
everything has that.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Every
Um,
story, every series has its flaws.
yeah, indeed,
But
indeed.
if I'm gonna blame David Lynch for getting me this invested thus far with the intricacies of the story and how
Mm,
well it has been presented, then you better believe I'm gonna hold him to a higher standard and say,
of course.
you fix this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. What's this? What's this bit over here? I'm liking everything over here, but what on earth
Yeah.
is this? Yeah, yeah, indeed. Do you have anything else more on the episode?
No, that's everything.
No,
Still
cool,
still looking
excellent,
forward to more here. So
perfect. Are you around next week, same time
maybe
as usual?
maybe we get to see Josie in a French maid outfit or something.
You may before this is done. You'll have to wait and see. Yeah, excellent. Okay, we'll reconvene next week then for
All right.
episodes 12 and 13, The Black Widow and Checkmate.
All right.
Um, thank you for your time, sir, and have a good one until I next speak to you.
Yep. Catch you later.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.